With 2 games in the books for VJ Edgecombe, today we break down what we saw and also get into my guy, the one I never doubted one bit, Johni Broome and his play and what he's been doing for the Summer Sixers. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast here on a Thursday. We're all back together from our Vegas trip. Derek Bodner is back in the house after a few extra days on the West Coast. He is back with us here on the show. Kyle Newbeck, as always. I'm Devon Givens-Bree, producer and president of basketball operations. And all of you in the chat, great to see you. We thank everybody for yesterday's show where we had to break down that bombshell, just a long and great story from ESPN about Joel Embiid. We appreciate the views. The numbers that we've seen on that have been really great. And we thank you for hanging out with us on Wednesday for the Joel Embiid show. Today, again, we talk about Summer League. The Sixers, watch out. They won 2 in a row, back-to-back, and they're off today, back on the floor tomorrow. And that's their final game, isn't it?
Yes.
Final game on Friday for the Summer Sixers. Maybe we'll see VJ Edgecombe for a third and final time, and this will be the last time we see him before training camp for the Sixers. And we'll get into all of that. We'll get some other thoughts a little bit later from Derek on what he missed while he was still on the West Coast. And we'll also talk about a few news and notes around the NBA a little bit later on. But Kyle, here for day 2. No VJ Edgecombe last night and no Justin Edwards. Adembona also did not play last night.
It was a light day.
It was a light day. It was a Judaments.
Not for Johni Broome. Not a light day for Johni Broome.
Mark Armstrong from Villanova and Johni Broome last night for that one. But let's first start with what we saw from VJ Edgecombe in Game 1 in Utah, and then finally getting a chance to see him on the floor on in the game on what?
Of course, after we left
Tuesday.
Las Vegas, which was the most predictable outcome
Of
in
course.
the history of mankind.
Of course. But you did take a peek at it, and obviously you wrote about it at allphly.com of what you saw. So what did you see in the 2 games? Is there anything that really stood out that you learned from these 2 games from VJ Edgecombe?
Well, I think to some extent it's been a confirmation of all the stuff we talked about, scouting him, his strengths, his weaknesses. I think maybe if there's something that jumped out in a positive way and in a this is going to create some interesting dynamics in the backcourt, is that it really has been a lot of VJ running point, VJ with the ball in his hands, and frankly looking pretty good as a guy who's a decision maker,
Yes.
right? Someone who you put him in the middle of the floor, run a middle pick and roll, have him coming off of handoffs, you lean on the first step and the athletic ability, but it's not just like, hey, I'm going to throw myself into 4 bodies and play out of control. He's played with a level of tempo and pace that I think has frankly helped him stand out from the other guards on the team, where it's a lot of just, I'm going to take a bunch of mid-range contested jumpers and that's going to be that. So focusing more on the second game, obviously he did not shoot the ball well again, and that's going to be a much bigger concern or much more pressing matter when he is playing with Max, he is playing McCain, and he doesn't get these ball handling reps. I think what I have seen from him in both games, but particularly against Washington out in Vegas, was he didn't stop because he had a slow start to the game, right? A lot of times, and especially with young players, when you get off to a terrible start shooting the ball, guys just turn it off entirely, right? Both ends of the floor. They get gun shy shooting the ball or attacking the basket. Defensively, they just start looking checked out and, it's not my night. And that's something that you see improve over time. It gets coached out of them. You become more experienced. You understand, especially in a playoff game, hey, it doesn't matter that I just missed my first 5-6 shots. I have to find a way to help us win. Normally at 19 years old, though, you expect like, this guy's going to turtle up and not do much of anything. So the impressive thing for me in the game we saw VJ play at Summer League was he did have a terrible first half, at least as a shooter and a scorer, but he was the best player on the floor in the second half of that game, really took control of it on both ends of the floor. Frankly, my favorite play of the entire game for him was the defensive play where he walled someone off, is in the guy's chest, tracks them to the paint, and then 2 arms up, jumps up, blocks it, shot clock violation for Washington. And seeing him still be as engaged and as active as he was on both ends, that to me is the thing you want to see, right? Summer League is a glorified athleticism test for these guys. It's, can you play in the league or can't you? And I think that's something that you can sort of tell from watching these games. The efficiency, the turnovers, the other stuff, like I don't put a ton of stock in. So the motor running as hot as it was deep into that game, despite the tough start, tracks with what we've heard, right? This is a competitive kid, somebody who cares about the ultimate end result more than all the other stuff. And I like that rather than being 0 for 2, 0 for 3 from 3, he goes 1 for 6 because saw it with Tobias Harris. We've seen it with other role players, Matisse Thybulle, other guys that you miss the first couple threes and that's it. That's all you see from them. They're record-scratching possessions. The fact that he remained aggressive to me is more important than, hey, he started slow and hey, he hasn't shot the ball well. But he does need to shoot the ball better moving forward.
Yeah, he does. I think that was probably the main takeaway. The other one is that his handle, like his athleticism functionally, I'm pretty encouraged by.
Yeah.
Now, the left hand has to work on, obviously. But he can get to his spots off the dribble, going to his right pretty well. Had a nice in and out dribble, so he's got a little bit there as well. I do think, we focused a lot pre-draft on that handle, how it's got to improve, and it's still got to improve, don't get me wrong. But I think I'm coming away, and look, it's 2 performances in Summer League, so calm
Not
down.
a whole lot. Yeah.
But I think I'm coming away from these 2 performances a little more confident that with NBA spacing, with shooting around him, he is going to get to his spots off the dribble. It's really going to come down to that jump shot, both off the dribble, off the catch, obviously. When he gets to the NBA and the full roster, he's going to be playing more off ball than he has played here in both Utah and Vegas. He needs to make those shots. And on the one hand, I'm confident in the off ball catch and shoot shot. That doesn't mean it's going to come right away. Like, there is an adjustment period, both to the speed of the game, the distance, all of that. And that could take some time. But I'm confident in the mechanics that he'll eventually get there. I'm happy that he has taken a lot of shots off the dribble so far in these 2 games, or at least a lot compared to what he did at Baylor. But, there's still going to be work. But more and more, I think that is going to be his swing skill, which, again, doesn't mean that the ball handling doesn't have to improve, especially with the offhand. But I do think he's just got such an incredible burst. He's going to find a way to make that work.
So looking at how things played out in that first half, as Kyle talked about, with how terrible he looked, where he couldn't make a shot. Some of that, of course, was the fatigue of being off for as long as he was.
And the rhythm,
and
too,
the rhythm,
right?
Yeah, being out there with those players. But when I'm looking at the box score for the first half right now, and he was 0 for 7 in 14 minutes and 32 seconds, so clearly not good. But I like the fact that he kept attacking the basket, even when he missed that one real clear layup that he had. That
he knew right away too.
He stood there and he held his head, and he's like, oh man, and maybe he dunks that another time, just because again he didn't necessarily have his legs. He was 0 for 4 from 3. But the other thing that I decided to, they were up 3 at halftime, 33-30 over the Washington Wizards in that game. The thing that I also looked at was, while he was struggling, the handle was good enough for him to, in that time, only have 1 turnover in that 14 minutes. And when he still decided to make plays, the defense was guarding him as such, as we talked about after that first Utah game. He's the best player. They know it. Even though Keve Aluma had 12 at the half at that point, keeping them in the game and allowing them to have that 3-point lead, they knew who was the one that they wanted to get the ball out of his hands. And guess what? He made the right plays. He had 3 assists that I remember, one being to Aluma in the corner for a 3-pointer. He had 2 other assists in that time that, all right, it's not working for me. I'm taking the shots that I should for 0 for 7, but I'm also not going to force anything in this time where I am struggling and I'm getting the ball out to my teammates to give them a better opportunity of making a shot and extending our lead going into this half. So that was one of the things that, since it is Summer League and the obvious is the obvious. He was terrible shooting the basketball, but he protected it, and he did other things to help them win and trying to make sure that they put the points on the board. 3 rebounds, 3 assists in that 14 minutes. Clearly fatigue, lack of rhythm, with those teammates that had played at that point, two more extra ones in Utah, and then two more in Las Vegas without him. So that's 4 games that he had not been on the floor with them, whether he had been at practice shooting around with them or whatever. He could not play. So those are the things that I looked at. And I saw Melo 3-point mentioned in the chat about the crab dribble, because that's how he got to the rim when he blew that one layup. Mm-hmm. He did a great move, crab dribble, lifted it up through the defense, and he got by them clear path, and he just blew it. And that's what he did. But you can see it right there for a 19-year-old kid, where some of those little things, like we've talked about during this entire summer now, when he gets to, he's going to have big games in the regular season, but he's also going to have games where he shoots 0 for 7, and they're going to need 6 points from him, and 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, and that defensive play that Kyle brought up a little bit earlier, and the poise to handle the basketball that Derek brought up also, that will also be a meaningful part of our post-game one night on the road in Chicago when they're playing. And one of these guys is going to say, you know what? VJ at 4:32 in the fourth quarter made this play, and that helped them still pick up that victory, even though he shot 2 for 7 and did not have his shot going for him, but he did other things that contributed to winning, because you still do have the others that should be able to score the ball, from Maxey to George to Embiid, Grimes, and whomever, that those things are going to be ultra important for him as well. So that's what I focused on. And then in the second half, he just came out.
He was great.
And he was fantastic with what he did. 15 points on 4 for 7, got to the line 6 times, converting all 6 of his free throws. And once again, just 1 turnover, an extra steal, and an extra block shot, and they secured their first win of Las Vegas.
And let me combine 2 ideas that you guys brought up here, right? Devon, the idea you're saying, hey, they're obviously treating him as #1 guy on the scouting report. And also Derek talking about the catch and shoot, the spot up shooting, like the importance of that, right? When he's going to get a lot of his shooting opportunities in the regular season with this team, it's not going to be as the focal point of the offense. It's going to be as the 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th guy on the floor on the second side as the defense is rotating, right? It's going to be him at a standstill where it's, hey, we're playing through Joel Embiid at the nail. You're running a pick and roll with Tyrese Maxey and a Dembona or whatever it might be. And it's not going to be him flying around the floor or getting a grenade late in the clock because Judah Mintz used 20 seconds of the shot clock to do nothing, right? He's going to get these opportunities where it is more structured offense. It is more other people are creating for him. And frankly, it's not just the shooting, it'll be the attacking stuff, right? He'll get to attack from the right wing with the ball swinging. And then it's just as simple as 1 push dribble, gather, layup, gather, dunk, gather, fouled, right? Like you're simplifying his process. What this setting is for is challenge VJ, make him stretch his wings, make him play like more of a lead guy, right? Because they will need him to do that at times, right? There'll be injuries, there'll be lineup combinations where you put it in his hands more, you let him go to work. And so I just think you're seeing bits and pieces of everything, but he right now is being challenged where it's, hey, you have to be the focal point of everything. You're going to get 2 defenders thrown at you. The defense is going to collapse on you and make you make the right play, find the corner shooter, find the big under the basket for the drop off. And I think that's why it's important, Devon, that the decision-making has been good, right? Yep. Like, it's not that he's played perfect basketball, hasn't been anywhere close to that. It's that more often than not, he's making the right basketball play. And so if you believe in the skill and the talent and the fact that he's going to develop these things, particularly the shooting, he'll stay on the floor because he makes good decisions, right? Coaches will remove rookies for the basic stuff, right? You're not playing hard. You're not making the right reads. You're not in the right place on defense. If you do that stuff, that basic fundamental, make the basic fundamental basketball plays, they can live with missed shots. They can live with some mistakes here and there. So he's going to give himself a really good chance to play right away by nailing the basics. And then he's just such a great athlete and has, more skill in the bag than I think people probably believed coming in here, that he can make a pretty early impact if things break right.
So 4:32 in the fourth quarter in Chicago. I'm making a note.
Make that note.
And if he actually does something, then we're calling you Nostradamus.
I like it. I'll take that one for VJ Edgecombe. Last night in the win, we'll continue to talk about Edgecombe, but the second round pick for the Philadelphia 76ers is Johni Broome. I, for one, have been one that's been critical of his play, but he's been good. So on the other side, we need to talk about Johni Broome, how things have looked for him, especially when Edwards, Bona, Edgecombe out there on the floor. Sure, he has the point guards, but he had a monster game last night, not only on the glass, but the scoring and from behind the three-point line. We'll talk about all of that. We'll get into it as we hang out with you on this Thursday right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by our good friends from Rothman Orthopedics. We'll tap into it on the other side right here on the show.
Hey guys, I got to tell you about our wonderful friends at Golden Nugget Jewelers who have been operating out of the very same location in the heart of Philadelphia for the past 30 years. They get people from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, but also Baltimore, New York City. They come because Golden Nugget Jewelers make sure you have the perfect engagement ring, the perfect wedding band, whatever you're shopping for. It could be other stuff. It could be a high-end watch, fashion jewelry, diamond necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and more. They have the experts that will let you find the right jewelry at the right price, but particularly in the experience of purchasing an engagement ring, it's probably one of the biggest purchases you'll make in your life up to that point. You want it to be special for that special someone, but you might not be equipped or qualified or really know, hey, this is what's in, this is what's everlasting, all that. Golden Nugget Jewelers will help you pick the exact right thing for your exact right person, because they've been family owned and operated since 1987. They know what they're doing, so just head on down to Chestnut and 8th in downtown Philadelphia because you deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com today to learn more.
All right, so I walked into my garage yesterday and it felt like a sauna.
I got to tell you, Devon, this Philadelphia heat, especially coming off a cool period, no joke.
All right, so here's what I did. I got like 10 bags of ice, and I made myself an ice bath to stay cool instead of turning on the AC.
But why wouldn't you just turn on your air conditioning?
Well, I was trying to be energy efficient. Go green, go birds, right? And a little power dribble. Make sure I stay away from it.
Yeah, but, instead of icing yourself out, you could just check out Pico's energy saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work, and they cut down your bills.
Hold on. So no more ice?
Unless it's an ice cold beer, Devon, we don't need to talk about ice.
That makes a lot of sense.
So everybody just head to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it. Don't resort to ice like my friend Devon over here.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Rothman Orthopedics.
Not a sauna in here today, Devon.
Not today. It is not. Make sure you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to make your appointment today. And hopefully it's not too serious. It's just something that you need to get checked out. Go check out Rothman. Again, rothmanortho.com/PHLY to get involved. Last night in their second consecutive win, no VJ Edgecombe or Adem Bona, Justin Edwards. It was last night a combination of a lot of players doing some really good things for the Sixers in their win over the Dallas Mavericks. And I got to tell you, man, Derek, 22 and 13. Mm-hmm. He got off 19 shots, 8 for 19, Johni Broome
11
did.
of them from deep.
And 31 for 49, 4 for 11, as you just said, 2 steals. Did have 3 turnovers and 1 block shot, but he cleared the room with the amount of minutes that he played last night.
Would you say he,
foul trouble?
He swept people away,
He
Devon?
swept people away in that win last night.
I knew Derek would appreciate that one.
But jokingly, I don't know if it was Pump or somebody else that was talking about running the offense through Johni Broome, but with those guys out and Judah Mintz, we mentioned Keve Aluma a little bit earlier with how he played
some small forward last night.
Yeah, just some TJ.
Not expecting that.
TJ just dialing it up with the lineups, man. And Mark Armstrong off the bench with 22. He was fantastic, making 4 threes. But Broome is the one, of course, that stands out and gets our attention because of what he may be for this team going forward. So what do you make of what he's done in Utah, what we saw in Vegas, and certainly last night with those type of numbers? And most importantly, I know for you guys, got off 11 threes, as you mentioned.
And that really is because he got 11 last night, 6 the previous game, I think. So you're talking 17. That's a really good volume over a 2-game stretch. And we spent a lot of time, at the time of the draft when they made the pick and in the days after it about, all right, his numbers in college weren't good. He had one season where it was okay. For the most part, the 3-point numbers were not good. How much of that is an inability to shoot and how much of that is a shot diet and the shots that he was attempting? And I think the more that he has shot the ball in summer league on a little more simple either catch and shoot or pick and pop threes, it's looked okay. And a lot of the other stuff that he does, offensively at least, like defense or rebounding wise, obviously he was active. But a lot of the rest of the stuff offensively, like when he posts up, I don't love it. I don't even love it in summer league. I'm sure I'm not going to love it in the regular season. But that doesn't really matter if he can actually be a pick and pop three. Like if that translates and he rebounds, yeah, he's not going to be a great defender. Like he just doesn't move well enough. He doesn't have the length to really be an elite shot blocker to make up for that. But if he can rebound the heck out of the ball, make pick and pop threes, I'm honestly, and I can't believe I'm saying this because the start of his summer league career was so tough to watch at times. But the last 2 games have absolutely made me a little more optimistic. I'm not going to go all the way and say he's clearly going to be in the rotation this year, although I think he has a really good shot. Sure. I'm not going to say I'm 100% confident, but I'm certainly more confident just because that shot is huge. And it does seem like the shot diet he had in college played a part in those low numbers.
What's the issue with the back to the basket stuff? Because we know in Auburn, he's just so good at it. And
he's just not going to be able to bully people like
no, but the left hand, the creativity, he's crafty. He's crafty there. So he can probably get some awkward looking shots off, but they're good for him.
They're good for him.
If you're living through Johni Broome post-ups,
you have to be an elite post-up player.
It's hard enough to play through Joel post-ups.
I'm not saying live. I'm just talking about that's his
Look,
strength.
if he's got a short guy in the post, go at it. But when he's got a center or a power forward on him, I don't want to see much.
Here's the problem
power
with
forward in today's league.
That
Paul George, Cam Johnson.
The Sixers already were a team whose shot diet was simply not good enough for the way the league is. They were losing games because of talent often, but also because they couldn't win the math battle, right? And I don't want that to be what it comes down to for the Sixers, right? I don't want to, we just look at the box score and see, hey, they played the Celtics tonight and the Celtics took 45 threes and they took 20 because so much of the offense was, and I'm not saying Johni Broome might get a couple post-ups a game at max, right? For the NBA club. But the more you lean into stuff like that, the more you're going away from true slash and kick, move the ball around the perimeter and get shots up. You just put yourself behind the 8 ball. So I do think the 3-point shooting is really important. And I think it's mostly, even if he was shooting poorly, I would just be encouraged by the volume that he's shown, the willingness that he's shown. And that was one of the things when I talked to people about the pick was look, we think this kid is willing to take them. And that is, we talk about that all the time. Teams know, even if the stat on your box score or your basketball reference page, whatever, if the attempts are low enough, you could be a 38, 39, 40% 3-point shooter. Teams know they don't need to close out hard on you. It's a really important thing.
You can't make a defense pay if you don't take the shot.
So other than that one moment at the end of the game in Utah in game 1, right? Which again, it's the first game he's playing as a professional. He's not necessarily used to, hey, we want you to just get up a bunch of threes. The fact that we've seen steady, I'm just going to let all these go, right? He's shooting in transition. He's shooting in the half court and he's connecting on a lot of these. The really important part of that is he's doing that. And now the last couple of games, he's rebounding too. Double-digit rebounds in both of these games. You're seeing a little bit more of he's not going to be physically imposing the way he was in college, but you're seeing more of the positioning, the game sense, the reading the ball coming off the rim, just beating guys to spots that when we talked about him on draft night, that's what popped for him in college, right? It's not that he was ever just oh, I'm bulldozing people. It's I'm getting a foot here before you and I have great hands and I'm creating the extra possession. And then he's got the floor sense to say, I need to kick it over there. I need to get the extra opportunity for someone else. Or if it's there for him, make that putback. So I just think you're seeing him adjust to the game speed a little bit, right? Where that was my big concern watching those first couple games in Vegas after Utah, was that it just doesn't look like he's keeping up with the pace of play. And you wonder, is he just too slow or too small to do what he needs to be able to do? And I think what you like seeing these last couple are, no, maybe it was just games moving a little bit faster and I have to process things quicker. I think you're seeing more of that. So that's very encouraging to me.
Yeah, so, and I agree with that. And the only point that I was making about the back to the basket stuff is not run the hub through him and have everything. It was just more of, there are going to be those times where he's out there and he can do that. And it's not just go and score. There was a play that we talked about, why I brought up, that back to the basket, he's playing over his left shoulder, which is his strong shoulder. So at this point, he's dribbling with his right hand. He sees a cutting player going to the basket. He throws an alley-oop to the other side. And it doesn't always have to be an alley-oop. It's just, Kyle, you brought up the cutting.
But if it could be an alley-oop, like that's your
perfect.
preference.
That would be perfect, like he did. But it's just, hey, man, you see that cutter cutting, and you can make that pass. Make that pass. Yeah. And sometimes you do have to run it that way through that. Maybe he scores 2 baskets in a row and they go to him for a third and all of a sudden they send an extra double. It's not for us to say that he's going to go do it. It's just more of they threw a double, kick the ball out, and now let the ball swing and have them panicking and trying to get back.
I just don't think, unless he's got like Kyle and I on him in the post, like I don't think he's getting any doubles.
No, of course not. No, but that's what I'm saying. If he scores 2-3 in a row, then they're going to maybe try to throw some different things at him to get the ball out of his hands. That's all I'm saying. Listen, jokingly saying that I knew all along. That's my guy. You guys know. But
tape's out there, man.
It is out there. Thank you, Johni, for making me look good, me and VG. But no, I mean, that's just something that just a little glimpse of that, of what he's good at, what he knows. But the shooting is going to be key in order for him to get some of those shots off from behind the three-point line, make the defense honest, and open up things for his teammates. Now, the other part is, can he defend on the three-point line, on the perimeter, when he is playing that 4 and he does have to move his feet and not use his hands and get into foul trouble when he's out there on the other end? That's going to be the other, maybe even the most important part of him staying on the floor, is just to stay out of foul trouble. So he can do those other things offensively out there to be that threat, however he is on the offensive side. Offensive rebounds, we know, are important, where he has that knack for the basketball and he gives them an extra possession. Because of that, he's showed some pretty good things here these last couple of games for the Sixers, whether VJ Edgecombe is out there or even in that second game against the Dallas Mavericks, where he was just rolling and he looked really good. And it was nice to see him just confidently go over there. He's not going to jump over anybody. If he does, that's going to be a foul. He's positioned, locating the basketball, squeezing the pill, and make sure he's the one that has it because he wants it more and to start that break. He can also turn around, and saw him pushing the break a little bit, not too far, but just enough to get the transition moving and then find that kick ahead to the guard so that he can go do what he needs to do on that offensive side. And as a secondary transition opportunity, or again, just kicking ahead the ball so they can get things going while he's the trail man. And maybe that trail man is him taking trail threes from the top of the key, and he starts to knock some of those down as well. But decent enough showing for us to make sure that we talked about, based on what he didn't do early on to what he's doing right now.
And look, I think it's as simple as, if he rebounds and makes threes, that justifies the pick alone, right? Because rebounding is a huge problem for this team. The question for him has been, where is he going to fit if he doesn't make shots? So the early signs there are really encouraging, because if he's a reliable guy there and he's at least like just clears the level of competence you need to be on the floor defensively, threes and rebounds, if I get all that from him, he has justified the pick and the contract moving forward. So we'll see, but good early signs.
Just before we hit our break, guy's probably not going to, of course, Keve Aluma for the second year just looks good, but he's not going to make the team. Mark Armstrong with a big showing as well. Good for them to put the tape out there.
Give Aluma a two-way, right? Like, I don't think he's the right fit for the Sixers, but just like a very smart and skilled player.
He knows how to play, man.
He's very old for Summer League, so if he didn't look good, that'd be a massive red flag for him. I think the fact that 2 years in a row, he played like 3 different positions for them at Summer League so far, right? Like, He's played center. He's played power forward. Last night he starts at small forward and had some moments in space defensively where it's like, all right, he's at least a little bit switchable. So I would probably give him a two-way if I were more of a rebuilding team and just say, we'll take a chance on this kid. He's interesting, but I get it. Like if you're a rebuilding team, you're probably taking bigger swings on. But I think he's certainly a quad A type player.
Yeah.
At least, if not a little bit more than that.
Just knows how to play basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I mentioned the VJ hit him in the corner for that three. You see him snatch a rebound, push the transition. He doesn't really have to give up the ball because he's old man kind of game where he protects it with his body and doesn't allow any of those guards to sneak in there and take it from him. And then he finishes at the rim. He can dunk and smart on defense where he lacks in foot speed. It's just the IQ of knowing where to be as a help defender to make sure that he's not a detriment to their defense. But, I mean, I'm with you. I just kind of root for him. Somebody just give him a chance. He's not going to play.
It seems like he's having a good career overseas. So maybe that's just, you play in Japan and Korea and places like that, and you're just happy with that, and that's cool. I just think when you're that size, can dribble a little bit, can shoot a little bit, like that's an interesting player that if he was not already, booked overseas, I think that's somebody that probably a team, at least on their G League team, should give a shot and say, hey, maybe we can promote this guy eventually.
Yeah, Mark Armstrong again, 22 off the bench for the former Villanova product. The one that continues to have his struggles, you can see it. He gets into the paint, picks the ball up, pivots, and has to find a way to kick it out because he cannot get the shot off. Hunter Salas had just not really shown what we thought we might see. Now, this was the same thing we talked about with Justin Edwards last summer, even Ricky, for the time that he was in there. But just he disappointing.
Yeah,
so far
disappointing. I do think I don't think you're going to change your two-way game plan right now. You give him a shot to come back into camp. But yeah, he clearly hasn't shown, I think, what we were hoping for. It is summer league. Like you're going for first impressions. It's mostly nonsense basketball. I think he probably would have been, like everyone, helped by maybe a little stronger point guard play or someone to help at least get them into sets. But he just hasn't made shots and he hasn't been aggressive enough at times, really.
Yeah, my problem is when he gets into the paint, picks the ball up again, and he's kind of stuck. And then he has to find a way to kick the ball out. All right, when we get back, we have a lot to get into from Derek being out, but he has thoughts on Paul George.
He kept all his drones
and
this time, as far as I'm aware of, so that's a progress on last year.
Paul George's surgery, Joel Embiid article that came out on ESPN on Wednesday. We get Derek's thoughts on those things, some lasting things from us on both as part of the conversation, and a few more things, news and notes around the league, as well as we hang out with you on this Thursday, presented by Rothman Orthopedics. It's the PHLY Sixers podcast. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At our good friends from Bet365, we were reminiscing about the during the season, about some of the things that we did where I had a pretty decent, I think I ended up pretty decent with the number, right? At the end of the year with the pregame picks. That's what we're going to say. And it was all done at Bet365. They'll be back hopefully next year when we start our season off with the 76ers once again. Bet365 has over 90 million users worldwide, live streams of 780,000 events each year, early payouts across the NBA and the NHL in season, and they've pioneered the live in-game betting. Maybe you wanted to get in on the All-Star game last night for Major League Baseball, and you did so, hopefully, at Bet365, because we've been telling you about them for many, many, many months. And MLB also has an early payout offer. With the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes 5 runs ahead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get ready for the second half of your baseball season, making a push for the pennant. And, of course, hopefully, we're talking about another long October run for your baseball team here in Philadelphia. And breaking news from Bet365. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up. Use code PHLY365. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Doesn't happen anywhere else. Only here at Bet365, those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Guys, just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage as well. And Empire Tay can help you get it. Empire Tay has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to some of those big box stores, and while they might have a flooring department, the person actually helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. Not very helpful. Empire Tay lives and breathes flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home, so you pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space, so you can see how it looks with your furniture and in your house. You get precise measurements taken and have all of your questions answered, so there are no surprises. With Empire Tay, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. You heard that right, a $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretay.com/PHLY for full details.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Rothman Orthopedics. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY. Have to tell you about some of our new gear. New gear, apparel. Go get that merchandise.
I'm wearing old gear, but good gear. Here's some new stuff.
The Philly collection, everybody. I saw Nona talking in the chat with Bree about the pretzel shirt. Look at that right there in the bottom middle for the sweatshirt with the PHLY spelled in the, of course, very famous Philadelphia pretzel with some mustard there on the bottom saying sports. Kyle has the top left of the PHLY 2001 font for the black shirt right there. On the bottom right, the Spectrum shirt that both Derek and I have in black. I saw Jamie walking around with his on Wednesday in the orange color, and I saw someone else here had his, didn't wear it yet, but it was the Iverson Step Over Tyronn Lue shirt. All available at allphly.com. The new Philly collection put together right here for us and all of you in our community. Go to allphly.com, get your new shirt. Sign up to become a new diehard member at allphly.com. And when you do, you have an opportunity to get the free shirts. Maybe you like, as the bird season is underway, the 2 championship trophy bird shirt that Kyle has on right now. Or maybe you want a hat like Derek is sporting right now. It's all at allphly.com. Get in there, get yours for the new Philly collection. And also, you can wear it when you come hang out with us for our first film session. You saw Fran do it during the football off season for the draft and post-draft to look at the prospects. Now we get our opportunity to hang out with you and talk some basketball with some video for the film session, the PHLY Sixers podcast film session, live here at the PHLY studio on July 29th. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. here at the office, and we're going to have a great time. Papa Shot continues. You get food. You get drinks.
You're not winning.
You get to hang out with all 5 of us and talk hoops as we discuss the film session, the PHLY Sixers podcast, diehard only event. So when we mentioned it earlier to get your gear, your merchandise, you also have to be a diehard member to hang out with us here at the office, at the studio for our first film session. So go sign up, become a diehard member, allphly.com. You can find everything there. Hang out with us July 29th from 6 to 8 here at the PHLY offices/studios. All right. We also have to talk about some Paul George stuff. Just to let everybody know, we did a conversation with Daryl Morey a week ago, 6 days ago. It'll be a week tomorrow. And, of course, it dropped this week. So if you have not seen it yet, go to YouTube, check out our conversation with, look at Bree.
You can see my soul leaving my body
President
with how
of
awful I
basketball
felt at that
operations.
breakfast from migraine or heat exhaustion or
Kyle was cooked, everybody. But
whatever
he fought
was
through,
going on there.
And we had the conversation with Daryl Morey, exclusive conversation with him. And we didn't really get to, so that is on our YouTube page. Please go check it out. It was a really good sit down. He was pretty candid. We talked about some fun stuff at the end as well. And gave us a lot of information. The one we didn't talk about, that we did not get,
because we didn't know.
was Paul George, Derek. Yep. He had the surgery. We did our emergency podcast there on Monday. But we didn't know. We didn't get a chance to talk about it with Morey. Everything seemed okay, but it wasn't. And now we wait to find out when he's going to be back. He'll be reevaluated ahead of training camp. What were your initial thoughts as you're trekking through the rest of your West Coast trip?
Yeah, well, I didn't have service for about 2 hours there, and of course that's when the news dropped. So I finally got back into, civilization, pulled up my phone. It's like, you got to be kidding me. Every time this happens, where when you leave, some bad news drops. And look, people will see that scope and like, because it's kind of like the same thing Joel got, they'll go to the worst place scenario. The scope isn't really the key. It's what was the condition underneath it. Like Joel Embiid's, like the scope isn't the problem with Joel Embiid's knee. It's the fact that he doesn't have meniscus, or at least as much meniscus as you would want. Just getting a scope doesn't necessarily mean the worst is going to happen. I know it's Philadelphia. Even still, hopefully, this is just a minor cleanup procedure and he's back at training camp. And if this was another team, I would tell you that's probably likely what's going on. But he's had so many problems with that knee over the last 12 months that if you are panicking, I get it. We've lived in the same reality. I'm not sure I have all that much unique stuff to add here. You guys obviously did a show on it when that news came out. But it's just, of course it did. Of course it did.
Yeah. And that's kind of all we can really offer, right? Is you cover a normal team and a guy gets a scope in
Yes.
the offseason. It's like, yeah, he'll be ready for training camp. Yep. And of course, this year there's the added complication of training camp is a little earlier than normal. And then they're going
They've
to
got to go
fly
halfway across
to
the world.
United Arab Emirates for 8 days in the preseason. So whether Paul and Joel even make that trip at all will be an interesting thing to monitor. If they do, how do they manage their health while they're there? Like lots of fun little things we have to think about in Sixers world that I'm very envious of the normal teams that get to just avoid all this stuff.
Yeah. So, just wanted to get Derek's thoughts on that, what he felt about the whole thing with Paul George. Now we just wait and just watch the podcast, the podcast piece, see what he's saying on there, and see what happens.
What a world.
See what happens. See what happens once we get closer to training camp. The other one was the story yesterday, Derek, that dropped from ESPN, a very lengthy article that everyone was talking about. And again, people did not get a chance to see our conversation about it yesterday with myself and Kyle and Bree being here. Dotun Akintoye had a very, very long story about Joel Embiid, basically covering from.
So long we were all reading it right up until we started the show.
That
just
would
to make
be
sure.
me. Raise my hand. But a very detailed story,
Yes.
Derek, about Embiid and his health. We didn't know about his relationship with James Harden, and maybe even the fact that he is now seeing a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Wide-ranging about Joel Embiid.
No, and I think my first thought on it, because I read it, I was driving in the middle of Arizona, and I pulled over on the side of the highway and started reading it, and I'm thinking it's gonna be a quick 5-minute read. Oh no, it's a long one. Legitimately, it's gonna take you a half an hour, maybe even more, depending on how quick of a reader. That being said, I would strongly encourage everyone listening to this to read it. I think it's very worth. If you have spent the last 11 years devoting your life to this team and franchise that's been built around him, I think you owe it to yourself to read it to get to know him as well as you can. And my first thought is I'm just glad that this exists, because this is the kind of profile writing that very rarely happens nowadays. Very rarely happens for a number of reasons. First of all, our current media ecosystem just doesn't monetize it very well. And if you can't monetize it, you're not going to have a guy spend 4, 5, 6 months working on a single story. It's just not, our environment isn't built for that. And and also then, athletes I think are not really willing to open up like this very often. And you understand why, because you can go to some radio hosts and some people on Twitter. So much of our media ecosystem is built around getting attention. You are going to grab at something that you're going to take either out of context or you're going to really get upset about, and that's what you're going to gravitate towards. So if Joel Embiid's just going to get hit on stuff, or any athlete is just going to get hammered on stuff, you're probably not going to be willing to open up and share some of your deepest, darkest secrets and some of the trauma that you've gone through. That being said, I think this is great. This stuff happening is great for fans, and I think it's even good for athletes too. And I'm glad he finally opened up in a way that he really hasn't at any point throughout his career. I do think it helps fans connect. And I've heard you guys talking about this yesterday, and I certainly agree with Kyle's main point where there are going to be people who dislike Joel and they're going to look at the negative stuff. And that's part of the Embiid agreeing to do this too. He had to know coming in, hey, if this guy's going to write about the last 11 years, he's going to find some stuff that's not flattering. And you have to get yourself to a mental space where you're okay with that coming out. And certainly people who don't like Embiid are going to gravitate towards that. And people who like Embiid are going to gravitate towards what he's going through and connect with them. But I do think there's some people in the middle where he's frustrated me but I don't really know all that much about him, and I kind of wish I knew more. And I think for those people, articles like this really matter. And I wish profiles like this happened a little bit more because of that. I think it makes it easier for fans to just look at them as athletes and just look at them as, almost these superhuman figures and forget at times that, there is a human underneath it. And there was so much in there that I think if you are a fan, it's one thing, like there was a point in the story that, got to me, mostly because I had a experience that mirrored a lot of what Joel was going through. I think there was so much in that article where, if you're reading it, maybe it's not the same thing that got me, but if you're reading it, you're going to connect with it in a way that if that's not out there, you just wouldn't have even really put any thought into it. And hearing him talk about his brother, obviously we've known for a long time that he lost him, but like hating himself because he had moved away. And obviously that's not a rational thing, but this trauma isn't rational. And I just think there was so much in there that fans could connect to. If you're open-minded, I think learning about, it's one thing. I think sometimes people think like, in order for a profile, and this is one of my complaints with like PR, not like team PR, although I time that too, but like even like, people around like Team Embiid or Team any superstar, they think if it's not 100% flattering, I don't want it out there. Mm. It's almost like damage control is more important than, getting like connecting with the fans. And the one I'll always go back to is Iverson. Iverson was nowhere near perfect. Everyone knows Iverson's flaws, but he was human. And because he was human, he was relatable. And because you knew, you saw how much he cared, you connected with him in ways that not only allowed you to overlook some of his flaws, but appreciate him as a human being.
I would say, though, to that point, there's a lot of bit of, because he lived that way at the time, everyone now likes to act like, oh, he was this like universally he was cool and he was a great player.
Sure.
And like back when Iverson actually played, we don't have to get back into a certain someone who I talked about how they covered him back in the day, but there are a lot of people now who look back with the nostalgia goggles, and because time has smiled favorably upon Iverson, you're going through a similar thing with Joel, where in the moment there is a lot of you have to pick a side, right? Instead of trying to operate in shades of gray, it's either this guy's the greatest Sixer ever, or boy, this guy's a loser bozo who doesn't get it. And like I think what you gain from reading stories like this and actually getting to know Joel is just perspective on he's not either of those things, right? Like he's a human who sometimes succeeds but is flawed, and these are the reasons that he's flawed, and these are why maybe he has not gotten it done, right? And like that's just a problem we have as human beings with perspective in general, right? I will not get into more like political things that have happened throughout history, where if you look at polling at different times for things we now take for granted, it's like an idea we accept as universal now 50 years ago was like, I can't believe people would believe in that, right? So with athletes, it is hard to be yourself and not just this like chiseled down, like the stock answer, the basic stuff, like I'm just about the work type of. There are guys who just create an image and it's not who they are. And there's even some of that with Joel, right? The jokey Joker, stuff on Twitter is like how he protects himself in a way. It's like, yeah, I'm a meme. I'm going to post about Rihanna and I'm going to do this. And then he's saying in this interview, when I'm doing all that stuff, I'm depressed. This is like one of the worst times of my life. And people aren't seeing that because they see a persona that someone has put out there.
Sure. But I think what I would say is, and first of all, like social media changes everything. So like Iverson in the social media age would probably be remembered a little differently than Iverson back then was. But I also
for better or for worse,
he might not have survived.
I also think part of the reason that Iverson has gained more acceptance among the fan base in his post-playing career is because we all know him so well and because his emotions were so readily obvious. Whereas in the moment, maybe like the flaws, become the center of attention because he's letting you down or whatnot. But as time goes by, you can appreciate him for the humanity that he showed and the passion that he showed. And I hope this article has a little bit of the same impact. Not that one article alone, especially one that long, because quite frankly, I don't know how many people are going to read the whole thing. So you're really relying
Very few.
You're really relying on aggregators to do a good job, and Lord
Nobody
knows
reads
that,
anymore. I hate to break it to
Lord
you.
knows aggregators are not
But
necessarily
subscribe to
known.
allphly.com and become a diehard.
Aggregators are not necessarily known for doing a good job on that and giving you the proper context. But I hope it does, because I think Joel was guarded for a very long time. You understood why he was guarded. But I do think that maybe played into the perception that's grown around him. My other main takeaway was I'm just really glad that he talked about the mental health component the way he did and seeing therapy the way he did. You know, I think for a lot of people, and certainly I had this period in my life, I think there is a point where like the coping mechanism that you have built aren't going to be what you need to get through some trauma that you're going through. And I think there's such a stigma around mental health and therapy. And you even saw it with Embiid. You know, he kind of contradicted himself a little bit where he's like, I'm going to therapy, but I don't actually believe, or I'm not sure it's going to be a solution. And I think some people look at that like, well, he's contradicting himself. And I kind of have a complete opposite view on it, where it's like, I think he is showing you the stigma and the impact that, you know, that stigma and society's views on therapy, especially for men, have on someone like him. And he talks about Jameer. Well, he probably doesn't go to therapy if Jameer doesn't like show him.
Yeah.
And I think if Joel Embiid, by admitting this, convinces even one person to go to therapy, or just breaks, you know, everyone who I think talks about it can break down that stigma just a little bit, I give him a ton of credit for doing that. And it's a really tough thing to do. You know, I don't think many people are comfortable talking about that publicly, certainly not as public as this article will be. And I'm just like, certainly there are negative parts of this article and things, even, you know, I think most of the negative parts of Embiid in this story would have been like 7-8 years ago. But certainly when you're talking about like Kim and that, I think some people, like, it's not great. And I hope he reconnects with her. But I think my main takeaways are, you know, those two things. First of all, just the fact that like sharing some of the trauma he's gone through will help him connect with fan bases, or with parts of the fan base that were maybe not aware, or at least connecting with him on that level. And two, just by even briefly talking about therapy, hopefully he helps break down some of the stigma that I think really affects our society.
Great stuff from Derek there, getting his thoughts on the story yesterday again from ESPN's Dotun Akintoye. If you have not read it, it's a long piece,
Great
but
story.
It's worth reading about Joel Embiid. If you missed our show yesterday as well, please go check it out right there on our YouTube page. A good conversation, nice back and forth between Kyle and I on it.
And we talked about it yesterday, but like one of the things I think has been strange in some of the reaction was anyone who's acting like either it was a puff piece or like, it's like, no, there's tons of stuff in there that's not.
Yeah,
or anyone who was on the other side, like, boy, this is a bad look for me. It's like, no, this is what a profile should be, right? You're addressing kind of all of it, right? And so that's why I think I come at it from, I just think it'll be a thing that people confirm their priors through, by and large, but we'll see. Time tells all.
Time does tell all. Let's get to our super chats that we do have here. And I want to start off with Marty Bones. Here's a what if. What if Embiid never recovers from his rookie foot surgeries? Where are the Sixers right now?
Man, it's so hard to even think about because so many of the draft picks are dramatically different because you're picking higher. Who do you trade and when? Who's running the team? It's just impossible to.
Yeah, that's tough.
But yes, that's like if you really want to go into big what ifs, that's a huge one, right? Because they went from completely irrelevant to, wow, they're winning 50 games as long as people are healthy, like easily winning 50
I'll
games.
switch it and throw it to Derek on this one. What if he doesn't break his foot and Andrew Wiggins is the pick at 3? What does that look like?
Pain. Well, here, I'll throw this because a lot of that article was about trust.
Sure.
Right? And trust in like medical staff, trust in team around him. What if he doesn't miss that second season? Because here's I've never said this, I don't think. He missed that second season. So basically when he got that first surgery, there were 2 screws put into his foot. One of the screws, the angle it was put in, it was not bearing the weight that it was intended to. And it's not something that, the way it was described to me, it's not something that you would have noticed from like just a pure scan. But But when you mix in his symptoms with the scan, they realized, oh, this isn't actually performing the task that we thought it, or that it was intended to. He's got to get this second surgery. And this was something that didn't, like, it's not him being out of shape. It's not him being overweight. Like, this was just, he needed to get the surgery redone. No fault of his own. So here's a guy, he comes over, finds out he's got a broken foot days before the draft, gets surgery. And again, to be clear, because I know there's a lot of focus on the Sixers medical staff, the surgery, that first surgery was done before he was drafted. So that was not outside of the Sixers purview. But he has that first surgery, starts rehabbing. His brother passes away, finds out that he needs to get a second surgery through no fault of his own. So when you start thinking of all this distrust that he has, not only team related, but like medical staff related, he just lost first 2 years and it's at no fault of his own. Like, I absolutely understand how that would completely screw with you and your headspace. But if he doesn't get that second surgery, Sam Hinkie's probably still here.
What happens? Yep. Appreciate it, Marty Bones, for the super chat. Marcus Blackstock says, also, in terms of the article, also people have the attention span of a toddler, IRT reading, because of how long that one is. Well,
in regards to reading, I'm translating for the boomers around here.
Just make sure that, hey, you might need a little bit of a break. Once you get to some point, you might be like, all right, let me take a quick pause. Let me go get a bottle of water, sit back down, and get right back into the story. Because it is a long piece. Marcus, thanks so much for the super chat. Riaz says, guys, is it really doom and gloom going forward with Joel? I mean, can we really at some point get a healthy Joel and Paul George and have a great season and contend in the East? I need something positive.
Of course it could be better, right? But I directly asked Daryl, can you give us something tangible that says, this is why this will be different with Joel to fans? And Daryl's answer was essentially, we have some proprietary stuff, but we have to wait and see. And it's so, like, that's the answer. If he, as someone who knows as much about this as any human being could, can't give an answer to that, that's like, here's what we see and what we know. Some of that's because you just can't talk about medical stuff. But if you can't give an answer to that, I can't sit here and be like, yes, I'm like, it's absolutely going to work, right? That doesn't mean it won't. But when the team can't come out and say, yeah, we know, or we feel very confident that it's going to go better, that just, his knee is what it is. There's no meniscus in there. This is a problem he's going to deal with the rest of his career.
Brian Pumper with the final super chat, 2 for 13 from 3-point range, sip some tea, whole lot of bricks.
How many threes has Ace made in Vegas?
Is that 0?
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Pump. You paid for it. We appreciate it. We read it. All right. Quick.
I mean, to be clear, though, like, we spent like the first 15 minutes talking about VJ and his shooting.
And
so, like, okay,
well.
You got your shot in, but fine.
Yeah. All right. Quick.
The prototype. Somebody came in and called Ace Bailey a demigod this week, which is one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen. The demigod has not been able to play a single game. So,
no, he has not. Before we rush through our roll call, and we can get to the news and notes tomorrow, Bree, just because we're a little bit up. We'll get one news and notes in, and I think we wanted to discuss for like 2 minutes. But we do want to promote our conversations that we did have out there in Las Vegas. The Daryl Morey one, which Bree showed up there on the screen. So go check that one out. On our YouTube page, we also had a one-on-one with VJ Edgecombe, where we had a chance to talk with VJ. He was pretty open, fun conversation with VJ, so go check it out, where we were stuck somewhere in the back of the back. But we got him, and it was good. He was open about the conversations. Also, backcourt mate, Jared McCain, also a one-on-one with him. He was fun to talk to, and you seen him out there supporting his team. But a really good guy that we had a chance to talk to at practice the day before, and then we had a chance on camera to speak with him for a one-on-one here for our show. So we appreciate Edgecombe and the Sixers. Also, Fran Fraschilla, Seth Greenberg, and Eddie Johnson. Greenberg is already up. Fran Fraschilla and Eddie Johnson, Sons Eddie Johnson, is upcoming. So make sure you look out for those at allphly.com, and also on our YouTube page. We're going to overtime here at allphly.com. Thanks on the TV side. Join us at allphly.com for the rest. All right, final news.
The most important segment of the show is coming up right here.
Because it's no longer on the television side. It is on the All
And
PHL.
to be clear on those
side.
videos, Devon's 6'1". So if VJ and Jared look that tall, they've clearly grown in the offseason.
Let me tell you about my new buddy, VJ Edgecombe. We stood there, and he said, right here? I'm like, yeah, let me go on this side. And he said, cool. Said, man, he said, let me scrunch down a little bit. So he made me look a little bit taller. So my new buddy, VJ Edgecombe, made sure he said, let me lean down a little bit so I can make you look a little taller. So thank you, VJ.
Good dude.
Edgecombe, he's a good dude. Kyle, the story, though, of the day. Yesterday, it was something totally different.
So
today, it is different.
If somehow any of you haven't seen this on social media, I don't know where you've been for the last 24 hours
Enjoying
or so.
life?
There was a couple, and I'll use that term loosely, who appeared at a Coldplay concert last night. A man and a woman, I believe Bree probably has the clip of this happening. There they are, right? All looks good. Arms around her. Look like they're having a good time.
For it to be shown.
And then they realize we're on the Jumbotron. And what happens next?
Oh, man.
Uh-oh. There he goes. He's out of there. She's turned away from the camera. They can't see us. Uh-oh. What has happened? And of course, Chris Martin, singer of Coldplay, makes a comment to the effect of, they either are having an affair or something went wrong. And 12 hours later, the internet has done enough research to figure out not only do they work at the same company and are CEO and chief people officer, they're married to other people. And boy, has this story been getting a lot of traction. I got to say,
yeah.
I don't know what I'd be more embarrassed by, getting caught having an affair with a coworker or getting caught having an affair with a coworker at a Coldplay concert and Chris Martin making fun of me for it.
Darkness says,
very, very tough look.
He was caught hugging my wife.
But really just like an insane story in the sense that it happened, and in less than a day, both their lives are just
gone.
Shot.
Yeah, ruined.
Unbelievable stuff. Here's the contrast to that, as Bree brings up. This was a Taylor Swift fan who knew they were calling out of work. They made sure they weren't getting caught. That's what my dad had a saying. He told my friends and I in high school. We were about to cause some trouble one night, and he's like, number one, you didn't see me. Number two, and it's the most important thing he maybe ever taught me, if you can't be good, be quiet. That's something to carry with you in life.
They thought they were quiet until
not quiet enough.
Coldplay said, no, you're not. No, you are not. So that is it.
News and notes.
News and notes. We stopped
if
there.
He had just not ducked and doesn't get called out, like nobody probably notices. You gotta
just give a polite wave and move on. He made himself a target. Boy.
Yeah. Target.
That's tough.
You're talking target. It's a target now.
I was talking to Bree right before the show too, and said, imagine being the wife and you're not going to deliberately play Coldplay, but you're just you're at Target or you're at some store and you just hear Viva La Vida come on in the background.
Not good.
Just bad memes the rest of your life.
So on that note,
God bless to all those people. I hope they find peace in life.
We go right to the world famous, I guess, roll call.
Roll call. Shout out to Chris Martin.
Shout out to Chris Martin, man.
First of all.
Goodness gracious.
Also thank you to all
some free merch.
All our wonderful people. Thank you to my girl Winona, to
Nona.
Bootzilla, to
Boots.
Keith B, to Haidar,
hey, Haidar,
checking in from overseas. SB Cole, B Knight,
what up?
Vincent, Darkness,
turn the lights
who
down
had an
for
imposter.
Them.
Yeah,
an imposter Darkness in the chat recently.
But turn the lights down for them ever going back to a Coldplay concert or
turn the lights down on A Rush of Blood to the Head and Parachutes and all the other albums I can't name. Music Lover 31, Money Marr.
Play that music.
Mellow 3 Point, Greeny Green, Rick Morse, Rick Sachs,
Go
Tom Jackson, DC Marley, Sal, Igavini,
Sal.
Jesse Bond, Mom's grandchildren. What's up to Mom?
Hey, Mom.
Doc Holliday still fighting the good fight over all the draft stuff. That brother, you are
we respect it.
The picture of the Japanese soldier 29 years after World War II happened. The pick was made. This is the guy. These are the players. You and Pump. I'm going to Photoshop you onto that. We're going to put that one down.
Not teacher got game, though.
The guy's living on
out.
the Japanese islands who doesn't know that World War II is over. Sorry, buddy. We're going to keep going on and doing the show. Who else we got in here today? Edward Chamberlain.
What up, Eddie?
Keith B.
Keith, what up?
Art. What's up to Art? Our super chatters were Pump Man, Marcus Blackstock, Riaz, and Marty Bones. Thank you to for your contributions to the show. The letter N is in here with us.
Men in Black, what up?
5115 Neo in here with us.
Matrix.
Alton Williamson, Lost Sleep TV.
Turn the TV off.
Say what? And DJ, a.k.a. Mr. Sandman.
Bring me a dream.
To close it out. Oh, INS as well. Thank you, everybody who was
And
here.
Val, I saw Val in there.
Oh, apologies to Val. Apologies to Jess with the blue heart, purple heart,
I don't
whatever
know if
it is.
Purple Heart was in there.
Don't
Yeah,
know
I
if we
didn't see
saw her
it.
today. She's always here, though.
All
Jay
right.
the Jungle. We'll get him in there,
What up,
too.
Jay? What up, Al?
Thanks to all our regulars. Hey, Aaron and Joaquin.
What up, Aaron?
I'm forgetting some of our normals. Can't do that. Please, whoever you are, if you're here and you have not, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live, and hit the thumbs up button to help us out in the algorithm. Oh, I forgot Densley.
Densley, what
What's
up?
up to Densley? Hit the thumbs up to say thank you, super producer Bree, holding it down behind the scenes. As always, pulling up clips from Coldplay concerts, Blue Sky posts. She does it all. Thank you for being here. We got one last show for the week tomorrow, 3 p.m. We're back on a regular schedule, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. every day. Whole gang's here. There'll be some vacations. There'll be some fill-ins, but we will be here in some capacity. Until then, see you tomorrow. Take care of each other. Goodbye.
See ya.
Don't go to Coldplay.
We all silly like the mayor.